The state of Oregon is sealing 47,000 eviction records. Is this a good idea? I don't think so. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting topic for you today. It's a topic I have covered before, and it has to do with the sealing of eviction records. And a lot of these municipalities and states, what they're doing is they're saying, hey, you know what, people are having trouble finding housing, so we're going to seal this eviction record and basically make it so that landlords are unable to see it. And I have a big problem with this. The biggest problem I have is that before a record is sealed, I would like a certain amount of time to have elapsed, and I would like the landlord to be able to have at least recovered the money that they were owed. Now, if those two things have not happened, then there is a big problem with them sealing the record. So let's say that, for example, you have an eviction case that qualifies under Oregon law to be sealed or removed from the records, right? Well, a lot of those cases are cases that never saw the eviction happen, but rather as they say, the landlord and the tenant settled outside of the court system, which really means that the tenant agreed to move, and the landlord said, well, I'd rather you get out of there than have to deal with paying hundreds or thousands of dollars to go through the court system to remove you. Okay, that does not mean that the tenant was a good tenant. That does not mean that the tenant paid you the money that they owed you. All that means is the landlord was willing to accept the loss rather than continue to battle it out in court. So that's why it is very important that we have these records on file. It's important so that landlords can see the integrity of the tenants that are applying for their units, okay? All of the information possible is what we need, not just some of the information. You know, like when you're looking at somebody's history, you really need to know, okay, is this person going to pay? Now, if I see somebody and I'm running their background and it says, okay, 20 years ago, this person was evicted, but since then they have lived somewhere and they have a perfect history. They got perfect credit. They got outstanding income and all that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, okay, well, based on the totality of circumstances, that 20-year-old eviction doesn't mean anything. Okay. But if I see somebody and they have 5 eviction filings on their record, no actual evictions were actually made, and those are all within the last 10 years, well, that tells me that this person has the repeated problem of not being able to pay the rent or just deciding not to pay their landlord. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. So how long do you think it should be before a tenant should be able to remove an eviction from their record? My personal opinion is you should never be able to remove an eviction from your record. Never. Okay? I want to be able to look at that information forever. That information is important to me, and it's important to landlords in making the best decisions. Now, if they do allow these, evictions to be removed from your record, it should be 10 plus years in the past, at least. Okay? Excuse me. Still getting over that cold. So anyway, let me get into this article, tell you what they're doing up in Oregon. This article is coming from ktvz.com, and it says, New Oregon law clears thousands of past residential evictions from people's records. Whew. Let's get into it. Oregon state courts cleared about 47,000 residential evictions from people's records in mid-December, as required by a 2023 law addressing housing and homelessness, according to Oregon Judicial Department. The state law, ORS 105.164, requires courts to set aside and seal past evictions in cases that meet certain requirements. These evictions will no longer show up in background checks, and legally, the evictions never happened. The law applies to cases where the court entered a judgment after January 1st of 2014. Cases also must meet other criteria, which are listed on the Judicial Department's Eviction Set-Asides webpage. And they have a link here to this webpage. I'm going to go to it now, see what this whole thing is saying, Now, obviously, I'm not sure how long of an article this is, right? And it says, was my eviction included in this law? There's a little chart here, and I guess they're trying to figure out or help explain if it includes your eviction. Let me read it real quick. The law applies to residential rental evictions where the court entered a judgment after January 1st, 2014. If these two things are true about your case, keep reading for more requirements. Did the judgment contain a money award? Yes. Then has the money award expired, been satisfied, or been discharged by a bankruptcy court? If no, then the law does not apply to your case. If yes, then keep reading for more requirements. And it says, did the, let's see here. Does your case fall into one of these categories? The court ordered you to leave the property and at least 5 years have passed since the court's judgment, or it was a stipulated judgment and at least 12 months have passed since the court's judgment. And then if the answer to that is no, the law does not apply to your case. And if the answer is yes, the law may apply to your case. You could check by looking up your record in the free Oregon Judicial Department online records search. So from what I'm reading there off of this chart, basically, if you were ordered to leave your property and it's been at least 5 years since the court's judgment, then your case may actually be removed from records. So 5 years. I want you to imagine this, right? You had a tenant who completely destroyed your property. Completely destroyed it, okay? You know, $10,000 plus worth of damages to the place. Not only that, but they owed you back rent. And then finally, the judge orders eviction. There's no monetary damages that you were ordered to pay. Or let's see here. Yeah, there is monetary damages that were ordered to pay, but the money award has expired. Okay? Or your credit is so bad that you got it discharged by bankruptcy court. Guess what? Now you could have that eviction completely removed from your record. Now you're a complete garbage tenant still. Don't you think that the next landlord who's going to rent to somebody like this deserves, and I'm not even joking here, deserves to know what exactly has happened. You know how long a bankruptcy sits on the record? Like 7 years. At least, okay? Effects of bankruptcy can last longer than that. But for the landlord, all of a sudden they're saying, hey, you, landlord, you don't get the information after 5 years whether this person is a credit risk or not. Now, the good thing is, right, they might remove the eviction record, but you're still going to, hopefully, I don't know Oregon law that well. Hopefully you'll be able to still do, criminal background check. Hopefully you'll still be able to call their previous landlords up, Hopefully you'll still be able to verify their income. Hopefully you'll still be able to verify their credit and their credit history. And you'll see all the red flags there and not waste your time on this garbage tenant, okay? So let me go back to the original article. According to a 2023 bill summary from the House Committee on Housing and Homelessness, an eviction can affect a renter's ability to qualify for another rental and can have downstream effects on homelessness and transitory housing arrangements, health, and or employment. The law required courts to start setting aside eligible records by the end of 2024. Judicial Department staff manually reviewed about 160,000 eviction cases dating back to 2014 to determine if they were eligible. And remember, yeah, that might be true. It might be true that having an eviction on your record makes it a lot harder to get housing, which may, in some cases, end up to some people being homeless. But whose fault is that? Is this the landlord's fault? Should the landlord be forced to take someone on into their property as a renter who is such a risk as a tenant that they will never get paid or that they will lose tens of thousands of dollars? Should they be forced to do that? Now, some people, they believe that they should. I don't. Okay, I believe that a landlord should be able to look at the risks versus the rewards. And when it comes to risk versus reward, people who have evictions on their record are an extremely high risk. But what do you think? Okay, you agree with me? Do you think that landlords should be able to look at the potential tenants' credit, eviction, criminal history for, back the entirety of their life? Or do you believe that these records should be sealed? Go ahead and put a comment in the comment section down below.